Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How are you tonight?
Uh, that's a,
This
we're,
me asking you that question should not be a surprise.
the software's going to edit out the very long pause I had there too. Um, I I survived last week, so we have family in town. Son graduated from high school, walked across the stage, was able to find a seat. Um, it was packed, because it was for the first time in
Uh-huh.
Mountainside High School history. It wasn't dreary weather,
Yeah.
wet weather
Wasn't
for
dribbly.
graduation. It was sunshiny, and everybody was out in force. And I mean, I got there an hour early with my boy,
Mm-hmm.
and the line to get in, because they weren't letting people in until 6, so half hour after, was very, very long. And by the time I actually made it to the front, there were very few seats left. So I went to the very
Wow.
top of the football stadium and sat at the top because I had to save seats for
You were reserving, I
family.
assume.
I was
Yeah.
reserving seats, and that's what everybody else was doing too. So it
Sure.
wasn't full. It was, I'm sorry, these are taken. So
Claimed.
after a couple of those, I'm like, I'm just going to go to a spot where I see 4 or 5 rows empty and claim one of those.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Right.
But it was good. I mean, it was good. So we have 3 high school graduates successfully
Congratulations.
migrating into adulthood. So now we'll just work on getting 2. We're 1 for 3 so far on college graduates. We'll work on the next 2, and my oldest is going back to get a master's, so she's just upping the game for the rest of for the other 2. So
There you go. Set a bar. Set a bar.
exactly. So
Well, and you survived chaperoning.
oh yeah, that was I mean it was fine. They had their grad party in this big sports gym type place. It had basketball courts and volleyball courts and had a big pool. That's where most of the kids hung out most of the night, was the pool. And they had parlor games and inflatable blow up games. And, I had a couple spots that I had to man for, a couple hours. And I saw my boy and a couple of his friends like once through the whole night.
Yeah.
My boy and his friend walked by me, and all I got was a "hello, father," and kept walking.
I guess that's better than sup, dad.
Or nothing.
That's
There
true.
was at least acknowledgement that I exist, which I appreciate.
Existence acknowledged.
So
Yeah,
no, it
that's
was
fine.
all good. It was all good. So I
That's
mean,
awesome.
it was fun. But yeah, I didn't get to sleep till 3 a.m. after that party. I mean, he didn't get home till 5 a.m. But I got home at 3 got home a little before 3, got to sleep by 3, and then was up by 8 to
Like
attend
6 a.m.
for meetings.
meeting? No.
No, there wasn't going to be a 6 a.m. meeting. I barely made it to the 8 a.m. And then I was like, yeah, just FYI, folks on this call, the dazed and confused look in my eyes, there's a reason.
Yeah.
All good.
Well, my son was playing in the band for
Uh-huh.
commencement, and they told band members, do not even try to park. Just have your parents drop you off and pick you up. So I did the drop off and pick up.
Right.
And it was a bit of a madhouse.
Yes.
Just observation and trying to get out of the parking lot was still crazy. And then the verdict on the night was, I just spent 2 hours staring into the sun.
Yeah. I
so-
felt bad for the band because it was, I mean, it's 75, 80 degrees. So it's hot for Oregon in June. And the students were faced north. So the sun is to their left, but the entire band was on the east end of the students facing west, right into the sun.
Right into the setting sun.
Yes. And I was like,
and they have to be dressed all in black.
exactly. And they're all dressed in black. I'm like, I felt so bad for the band because, there was these little black blobs of, humanity over there.
It's good for them. It's good for them. It builds character.
That's right.
Or something like that.
Builds character.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was a great time was had by all. And
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to having all three out of the house, starting their own lives, and just kind of helping them become net positives on humanity as they continue on their lives. No, so
can't ask for more. That's awesome.
So that was my weekend. What was your weekend like?
Well, one fun thing that I got to do was I actually took most of Friday off, other than a couple of very early morning meetings. So I was on the ones I slept through.
Yeah.
But because my wife brought her 5th grade class out to the farm for a pollinator learning day.
Oh, that's right.
So that was fun. That was totally fun for me. And the kids loved it. So they had a grand time. It was good. We had it broken up pretty well. I spent a few minutes showing them the equipment. It was totally hands-on,
right.
Showing them frames and the boxes and the queen excluder and talking about bees and, life cycle and what they collect. And, one of the kids trapped me in a question, and I was like, you are right. They, and it was really good. And then they kind of had a snack, and we came back and we actually extracted some honey.
Okay.
So I had gone out and collected 4 frames like the day before. And then, so we had 4 frames to extract. And even though I do have a extractor that has a motor on it, the top of it, we did not use that. So
Make
we
them
used
work
the
for
one
it.
that had the crank. So the kids got in a big line and, cranked, each cranked a little bit. And
nice.
There were like 3 or 4 kids that were totally dedicated to that. And that's what they did even after the line went through. While a few of the others, we live not far from a small airport. And so there's planes flying over, little Cessna planes flying over our house. It was a beautiful day. And so they literally are pilots learning how to fly. So they're like doing circles over our house.
Take off
and then
landing.
Take off and do it again. And, they have 2 or 3 planes doing that. And so the kids were like running around looking at the planes and then we walked around and they did a big walk around the farm. And, the other big hit for the kids was
touching the electric fence.
No, I did not do that. But we have this small forest is too much. We have a small copse, I guess. Wooded area of trees of incense cedars that I think were planted as a crop like way long ago, but they have grown into something that at some point we'll just have to cut down and it will be a problem. Anyway, but there's a couple of owls that live out there.
Nice.
And so the kids on the walk around the farm, we spent some time. It's totally cool underneath the cover of the canopy of the forest there. And there's all these owl pellets, which are filled with skulls of mice and rodents.
Yep.
And that was a tremendously huge hit with the 5th graders.
I can imagine.
Look at this. I have 10 skulls. and much fun was had. So, and between lunch and snack and that, anyway, it was all good. And each of them got to go. And then when we got back to the barn, we made them wash their hands. But then they...
Please define owl pellet to the parents.
Oh, yes. I guess maybe that's not a normal common thing, but it is whatever. Anyway, it was for my kids. each of the kids got to basically go home with a little 3-ounce jar of honey that they had extracted. We had
Did you have enough honey for each of them to have
like
jars?
barely, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
I think
Perfect.
we needed. I want to say we needed 19, including a couple of chaperones, and I think we made 24.
Nice.
So it was like I was like, "Ooh, I'm really glad I grabbed 4 frames instead of I was just going to get 2." And then I was like, I better get 2 more just in case. Really, really glad I had done the just in case.
Nice.
So yeah, worked out really, really well.
Cool.
And there, of course, they like the last part of the trip was them just kind of because it also had these little wooden dippers. So they have a little jar, a little wooden dipper, and they were just like dipping the dipper in the honey and sucking the honey.
Right.
It's your honey, not mine. I don't care.
That's right. Bee spit now includes 5th grader spit. All
Fifth
good.
grader spit. Yeah. It's all good. So anyway, so that was fun.
Cool.
I guess the other big thing we did on Saturday, I don't know what. So my neighbor moved, and he's the one that cut our hay.
Right.
And I don't have a way to cut the hay. And I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago that a friend of ours bought a baler, but the mower he bought, and I was gonna buy the mower and the rake, and then we were gonna switch, kind of
right.
both be able to use the baler. The mower that I was going to borrow broke last week, and so and you can't. I mean, this is the time of year that everybody's doing it, so. Anyway, you cannot find them used at the moment. In another month, there will be a glut on the market of used mowers, like hay mowers, but not right now. So we went around and I ordered a mower, and so the tractor place is going to come pick up my wife's tractor on Thursday. Because they have to install what they call a remote, but it's basically another hydraulic control point to the back. And in 2 weeks, I will be mowing hay. I will be making hay while the sun shines, hopefully. But
you didn't want to go the old school route with a scythe and just kind of,
that's good for like a row, but then do that for a couple acres. I dare you.
No.
Yeah, no, the funny thing was, the guy called me when I called him, I saw him on Saturday, thought about it on Sunday, called him on Monday and said, all right, do it. And then he called me back. He's like, okay, I'll call you back once I have like everything lined up. Cause part of it's like, you gotta promise me that I'll be in the or in the field mowing in 2 weeks. Cause a week after that, or a week and a half after that, I'm going to be gone on vacation. So weather better cooperate. Anyway, so he calls me back and he's like, hey, what's your address? I tell him, he's like, oh, is that, so-and-so's old place? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I know him. And then, I knew his neighbor too. I'm like, yeah, the neighbor moving is why I'm talking to you in the first place. Because the neighbor, anyway, evidently the farming community in Hillsboro must be pretty small. At least if you have the person at the tractor company as an intermediary. Because then he was like, oh, and doesn't so-and-so lease the front acres of your property then? I was like, yep. He's like, oh yeah, I know them too. I'm like, okay. So all I really want
do I get the friends and family discount now?
Yeah. And by the way, I asked you when I was in there, do you know anybody that will just like come and mow this for me? Can I solve this problem by paying somebody else money to do it? And no is the answer to that question. Really? I get it. It's a lot of work for not a lot of pay, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. Anyway, so that'll be fun.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
We'll
see how it goes. All right. So that was totally not security related at all. How about something security related?
So I stumbled across this one and it caught my eye because when my girls were little, as I've been reminiscing about family things this last week, when my girls were little, the first MMO multiplayer online game they wanted to play was called Club Penguin. And it was a virtual world, and you had all these little mini games and activities, and you could do chat with other players. And they were like, hello, they had predefined things. You couldn't type in things.
Right.
And it was geared towards younger kids. So I had got my kids Club Penguin accounts, and I got myself one because I wanted to see what they were doing and, all that kind of stuff. And then later on, Disney bought it. So Disney bought Club Penguin, I think in 2008 or 9, 2007. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. So we got playing this game a long time ago, and I had forgotten about this until I just saw this article that Club Penguin, while it officially shut down in 2017, there is a successor, Club Penguin Island, that lives on in private servers run by fans and independent developers. Apparently, some Club Penguin fans had somehow breached Disney's Confluence server and stole a bunch of original Club Penguin stuff.
How does a Club Penguin fan...
Googling the internet, deciding, let me look at Showdown. Anyway, some Club Penguin fan had 137 PDFs that had all this old information about Club Penguin, emails, design schematics, documentation, character sheets, because, there were different characters and you could build a home and, all the data is very old. And so this person basically just released it and said, hey, I don't need this anymore, and just released it on Reddit, I think, is where I originally found it. Somebody found it. And then Bleeping Computer started digging into it and found out that not only was that part of whatever the breach was, there was 25 gigabytes of more current things from Disney, like internal API endpoints and credentials for things like S3 buckets.
Oh, no.
For a lot of stuff. Disney corporate strategies.
You don't put credentials on Confluence.
Advertising plans, Disney Plus internal developer tools, business. So just a lot of a big dump of data. Of course, Bleeping Computer reached out to Disney. Disney never responded. Well, didn't respond by the time they did this. So it included several different libraries that had never been disclosed to the public before. Apparently, Disney has something called Communicore. It's a high-performance asynchronous messaging library aimed at use in distributed applications. So they've built something internal, and it includes something that allows Disney producers and authors to create interactive, non-linear experiences using real-world inputs from sensors in Disney parks. I don't know what that means. But so there's a whole bunch of stuff, and the data they showed, the most recent data that they showed was documented, generated by Confluence on June 1st, 2024, 9:59 p.m. So it's 4chan is where it was released, not Reddit. So all these data. So Disney has a breach somewhere of a bunch of corporate documents. It's now 25 gigabyte worth somewhere. So I imagine there'll be a follow-up to this at some point. But that's what caught my eye. Was it really doesn't say anything about usernames and passwords other than of end users. It seems to be all internal documentation and stuff. So it's not a data breach of they now have mine and my daughter's Club Penguin users. It's
right.
They have internal Disney.
Confluence, for those that might not know, is a corporate wiki, basically, that lets you collaboratively write documentation and things like that.
All right.
So document generated by Confluence. That doesn't mean Disney's Confluence. You could have taken an export, loaded it up into Confluence, and then exported it from there. But still, that's pretty suspicious.
Apparently, they showed Bleeping Computer. The anonymous source did, and Bleeping Computer has verified the data. So There you go.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will say that my son texted me a picture not too long ago when they were young, quite young. We did similar, sounds like similar. I never did Club Penguin, but we did a thing called Wizards 101 or Wizard 101.
Okay.
Which was another kind of kid-focused MMO that we played for a little while. But I refused to kind of pay them major. I just bought a few whatever the equivalent of gems were, so that we could go into a few places, but not the whole game. And I didn't want to encourage that. So anyway, but so my son clearly got it working. I don't know if he bought it on Steam or something like that, or what he did, but he sent a picture of it running on his laptop. Well, not too long ago. I'm like, oh, well, he says, oh, the memories. I'm like, well, good. I'm glad I made some good memories with you there, because it was fun to play with the three of us, at the same time. So that was cool. All right. My article that I chose tonight is a blog post from Apple after their WWDC conference opening yesterday. One of the announcements they had was what they called private cloud compute. So,
okay, words.
Words.
I understand those words individually.
Individually. Well, Apple is trying to stake a place for itself as the privacy focused big company. So not Facebook, not Google, not even Microsoft. Although I think largely the other two are the ones that are we'll collect all your data. All your datas belong to us.
Yeah.
But so Apple has been for years kind of being much more privacy focused, much more focus on end-to-end encryption, much more focus on Apple. Not even Apple can access your data or access your phone.
Yep.
So enter large language models and, AI. What do you do with AI when you want the model to be able to operate on your data, give you a personalized answer, but the models are too large to run on the phone?
Right.
So their solution to this is what they're calling. Actually, I can't figure out their naming stuff. I did watch, or I should say perhaps listen mostly to the keynote yesterday, or most of it. But so they're calling Apple Intelligence. It says Apple Intelligence is the personal intelligence system that brings powerful generative models to iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Okay. So I guess that's their overarching.
AI. I mean, hey, if your computer name works with AI, why would you not?
Didn't even catch that.
How do you not catch that one, amigo?
Okay, well, I'm not as smart as you.
I don't think that's the reason.
Perhaps I'm not as swift. Anyway, so for advanced, I'm reading this here from the opening to this. For advanced features that need to reason over complex data with larger foundation models, we created Private Cloud Compute, a groundbreaking cloud intelligence system designed specifically for private AI processing. For the first time ever, Private Cloud Compute extends the industry-leading security and privacy of Apple devices into the cloud, making sure that personal user data sent to PCC isn't accessible to anyone other than the user, not even to Apple. Built with custom Apple silicon and a hardened operating system designed for privacy, we believe PCC is the most advanced security architecture ever deployed for cloud AI compute at scale. So, a friend of ours was texted this to me, and I was like, "Oh, they're probably using enclaves." And yes, they are at some point, but they've done, at least according to the blog here, they've done quite a bit more than that. So it'll be interesting to see, because we've used secure enclaves on other hardware for other things, and the problem is at some point you got to get data into and out of the enclave, and so one of the things that they are doing here is it's not just about the enclave on the chip, it's also about the OS that's running the software. So anyway, more about that in a minute, but so let's see. It says there's some other sort of context setting stuff, but it says, when Apple is responsible for user data in the cloud, we protect it with state-of-the-art security in our services. And for the most sensitive data, we believe end-to-end encryption is our most powerful defense. For cloud services where end-to-end encryption is not important or not appropriate, we strive to process user data ephemerally or under uncorrelated randomized identifiers that obscure the user's identity. Secure and private AI processing poses a formidable new challenge. Powerful AI hardware in the data center can fulfill a user's request with large, complex machine learning models, but it requires unencrypted access to the user's request and accompanying personal data. However, to process more sophisticated requests, Apple Intelligence needs to be able to enlist help from larger, more complex models in the cloud. For these cloud requests to live up to the security and privacy guarantees that our users expect from our devices, the traditional cloud security model isn't a viable starting point. So the 5 guarantees that they're trying to make are stateless computation on personal user data, enforceable guarantees, no privileged runtime access, non-targetability, and verifiable transparency. So, and there's details. This is quite a long article. I'm just kind of summarizing it here, but it says the root of trust is the compute node, custom-built server hardware that is using Apple Silicon in the data center. So this must mean that they're doing this on their own, in their own data center. I can't imagine they're loading a whole bunch of custom hardware into AWS or Azure, but it says including secure enclave and secure boot. We pair this hardware with a new operating system, a hardened subset of the foundations of iOS and macOS, tailored to support large language model inference workloads while presenting an extremely narrow attack surface. This allows us to take advantage of iOS security technologies such as code signing and sandboxing. On top of this foundation, we built a custom set of cloud extensions with privacy in mind. We excluded components that are traditionally critical to data center administration, such as remote shells and system introspection and observability tools. We replace those general-purpose software components with components that are purpose-built to deterministically provide only a small restricted set of operational metrics to SRE staff. And finally, we used Swift on Server to build a new machine learning stack specifically for hosting our cloud-based foundation model. Okay. So, you can see there where a lot of, they said an extremely narrow attack surface. And if you have a completely custom OS running on each bit of hardware, you could see.
Well, it's just Darwin, FreeBSD. It's Unix at the core, right? The underpinning.
Yeah,
that's what I read for the underpinnings of iOS and Mac.
Yes, but I mean, they yes, totally. At the end of the day, yes, yes. So what will be interesting will be, so that's actually a great lead in to why I pulled out this next little chunk of the article, which is the second to the last chunk I pulled out, because one of the guarantees that they're trying to do is verifiable transparency. How do you have verifiable transparency for a cloud service? So this is what they claim. Our commitment to verifiable transparency includes publishing the measurements of all code running on PCC in an append-only and cryptographically tamper-proof transparency log.
Okay.
What is that, Eric?
GitHub, aka a blockchain.
Exactly right. There you go. It's a blockchain. Anyway, making the log and associated binary software images publicly available for inspection and validation by privacy and security experts. publishing and maintaining an official set of tools for researchers analyzing PCC node software, and rewarding important research findings through the Apple Security Bounty Program.
So I wonder then does it say they're releasing the source code publicly?
They do not say source anywhere. They say binary software images.
Because for public inspection, so binary software images for public inspection. Okay. Because I can run it in my own environment.
But I think maybe you could run it in your own environment, but you also presumably can verify the hash of what is released in binary is also what is hashed in the log. I think that's the main set, is that, this is the software that's running. This is here's the release of the software, or the binary images of the software that should be running, and the hashes are in the logs. They don't go into, I'm sure there's another click of detail coming.
Right.
Actually, they even mentioned it, the article, that there'll be another click of detail coming, but, and having a bug bounty is good.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
It says, so the final thing I pulled out was every production private cloud compute software image will be published for independent binary inspection, including the OS, applications, and all relevant executables, which researchers can verify against the measurements in the transparency log. Software will be published within 90 days of inclusion in the log, or after relevant software updates are available, whichever is sooner. Once a release has been signed into the log, it cannot be removed without detection, much like the log-based map data structure used by the key transparency mechanism for iMessage contact key verification.
Okay.
So it's a blockchain.
All right.
It's a blockchain.
An actual use of a blockchain that makes sense. Got it. Okay.
Don't be a Luddite. Don't be a Luddite. Or at least, if you're going to be a Luddite with me, bring me some tea.
Oh, anyway. Web3isgoinggreat.com.
Number go up. Actually, to be honest, I guess I don't know what Bitcoin's at the moment, but it was at 15 like a year ago, and now it was last up at 60 grand or something like that. I don't know where it sits at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't watch. Anyway, TMI. Right. So, how about something fun that's not a blockchain?
All right. So I know we have talked in the past about nuclear energy and, hey, could we figure out, is there clean, air quote, clean nuclear energy? And I stumbled across a Gates note. So Bill Gates. And I think we talked about this a while ago about a different type of nuclear power plant that uses physics to cool rather than a human to monitor temperatures, right? It uses liquid salt, basically. So anyways, it was really cool. I know we talked about it. And this article has a bunch of links that tell you all about that kind of stuff if you want to do this. But apparently this is now groundbreaking for the actual power plant has occurred in Wyoming, Kemmerer, Wyoming. And that's not me stuttering. Apparently it's Kemmerer is the place where this this next generation nuclear power plant is going to be built. They're basically building it across, I don't know if it's really across the street, but effectively, conceptually across the street from the old coal plant. And so all the workers at the coal plant are also simultaneously being trained on how to operate at this new nuclear power plant. So nobody loses their jobs. They just get retraining and move over once, this other one is online. So they did the groundbreaking, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has accepted the application. I think, is that right? Yes, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission has accepted the construction permit application for review. So it's still going to be a couple of years.
They haven't given a
It's not
permit.
approved. No. But they're running on the assumption that it will get approved. And they have a lot of like the mayor, the governor, the senators, a lot of folks from Wyoming really pushing for this in the U.S. government
And they have
to,
Bill Gates.
and they have Bill Gates who has, lots of money to spend whatever he wants. So they're assuming it's going to be done. So they're building all the stuff around except for the nuclear plant. They figure it'll take 2 years to get the approval, and then they'll be all ready to then just build the nuclear power plant starting in
And plug it in.
2026 and just plug all the pieces together and be able to stay ahead of the game. So I am excited to see how this turns out. Because if it really is safer by removing the human aspect of potential error in the meltdowns, this could be a net positive going forward to try to get rid of our dependencies on dwindling amounts of dinosaur juice under the ground. So, anyways, that's my something fun.
Right? Okay, so that is totally awesome.
And I snuck in a something fun because I saw this and I was going to tell you about it earlier, but I don't know. Did you know that Civ 7
I saw
coming
something.
out?
2025.
Okay. Yeah, it's coming out.
2020.
But the trailer for it leaked, so you could watch the trailer.
Well, so I have to say, I did not see the trailer, but I saw somebody watching the trailer on YouTube. So I have trailer inception, maybe. So
okay.
Anyway,
all right.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited.
Really my something fun. I just didn't know if you'd seen that.
I love Civ 6, so I will hope that Civ 7 is a big hit. Okay. Oh well, my something fun tonight is not fun.
Okay.
So in the spirit of the not fun funds, this is former astronaut William Anders, who took the iconic Earthrise photo, was killed in a Washington plane crash last week. Up off of San Juan Island.
Okay.
Or San Juan, said the San Juan Islands. So William Anders, former Apollo 8 astronaut. Let's see, he died Friday when the plane he was piloting alone plummeted into the waters off the San Juan Islands in Washington State. He was 90. So, pilot to the last, evidently. But so his son, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Greg Anders, confirmed the death to the Associated Press. The family is devastated. He was a great pilot, and we will miss him terribly. He said that William Anders had said the photo was his most significant contribution to the space program, along with making sure the Apollo 8 command module and service module worked. So, the photo is credited with sparking the global environmental movement for showing how delicate and isolated Earth appeared from space. And it's the first color image of Earth from space. Very famous photo. I presume most people have seen that. If not, it's easy to find. So he evidently was frantically switching from black and white to color film during the fourth orbit of the moon. So Apollo 8 was the first mission to go and orbit the moon, but didn't actually land. Landing happened 7 months later. But here's a crazy thing. So in a 1997 interview, so a long time ago, he said he didn't think the Apollo 8 mission was risk-free, but that there was important national patriotic exploration reasons to go. He figured there was a 1 in 3 chance that the crew would die, a 1 in 3 chance that the mission would be a success, and a 1 in 3 chance that the mission would be scrubbed. So, and that he suspected Christopher Columbus sailed with worse odds. I mean, can you imagine, like, you're one of the first, I think there were three people to leave Earth orbit and go orbit the moon and return. It's amazing. So
in 1968, we're getting close to 50 years ago.
Right? Yeah. We're more than 50 years. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
my birthday. Yeah, no, close to 60 years ago, coming up on 60 years ago.
So,
Yeah,
um, yeah. Sorry, it took me a
I am
minute to do the
50.
math.
Sorry. Yeah, me too.
So crazy, crazy. Like the technology. I'm looking forward to the streaming 8K video from the next people that go land on the moon.
Hmm.
Let's see.
We'll get final proof that the world is actually flat.
Right, it is. Let's see. I pulled out one more quote. He said, he recounted how Earth looked fragile and seemingly physically insignificant, yet was home. We'd been going backwards and upside down, didn't really see the Earth or the sun, and when we rolled around and came around and saw the first Earthrise, he said, that certainly was by far the most impressive thing, to see this very delicate, colorful orb, which to me looked like a Christmas tree ornament coming up over this very stark, ugly lunar landscape, really contrasted. So,
Nice.
so rest in peace, William Anders. That's my something
Yes.
fun.
Nice. All right, John.
All right. Have a great night, Eric. I will
Yeah.
talk to you later.
We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.